Hello everyone and welcome to International Women's Day with the ICB. My name is Elizabeth Carter. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We've got a really interesting talk for you now, a conversation with Camilla Rigby. Good morning, Camilla.
Hi Elizabeth, hi, thank you for having me.
The organisation you have co-founded is called the Women's Work Lab, which is an organisation based in the Southwest. I'm going to try and step back, but if you can tell us a little bit about Women's Work Lab, what it does and what you guys have achieved over there already and what you're looking to achieve again in the future.
So the Women's Work Lab was launched formally about 4 years ago now, but was about a year and a half in the making. And what my co-founder Rachel and I set out to do was create a place for women, mums in particular, who were out of work and in receipt of state benefits, and we wanted to support them back into work. Back in 2017, I think it was, when Rachel and I first started looking into it, we recognised that there was a growing level of support for mums to get back into work with returnships and other support. But these programmes tended to be aimed much more at professional women, so women who perhaps did already have quite a lot of work experience, who probably had a degree, and what we wanted to try and do was create something that was much more inclusive and much more open to all types of mums, really. So that was the kind of starting point for the Women's Work Lab. What then followed was about a year and a half of research, and actually spending time with the mums. You know, Rachel and I, by our own admissions, have not been on benefits. Like, I personally have some lived experience of growing up in a single parent household, but it was really important for us that the mums were involved in helping to shape what we've subsequently created. And what we now have as our kind of core Hive programme, we call it, is a course that runs over a school term, so 3 months, 12 weeks in total. We have 5 weeks of upfront training, which is delivered twice a week. The first 5 weeks are around, as I say, this Hive structure. So we look at history, insight, vision, and then employability. And what we aim to do with this is, for a lot of our mums, their confidence is extremely low. And so rather than kind of throwing them in at the deep end and saying, hey, let's do your CV, it's a lot of groundwork before that. And it's usually around rebuilding their confidence, actually, and helping them to understand what's happened in the past and how that can be hopefully turned into a positive. And we get them to start looking at their values and their strengths and, you know, how can this translate into the world of work? And then after that initial 5 weeks, we organise a 4-week work placement for them. These are part-time school hours work placements that are about 15 hours a week. And we work with the mums really, really closely on that to try and tailor something that's really, really suited to perhaps if they do have some work experience, what they've done in the past and what they might want to get back into. Or if they don't, helping them look at their strengths and their aspirations and what we feel could be a good kind of starter for them. So we work with hundreds of employer partners on the work placements. Once the mums completed their work placement, they come back to us for a final 2 weeks of training, and that's when we do start talking about CVs and interviews and everything else. And then they graduate from the core programme, and we then continue supporting them for another 9 months with career coaching and support, and yeah, helping them on their journeys back to work. And last year, around about 68% of the mums that we supported are now back working. So we're doing a good job, I think.
Yes.
And yeah, we're just continuing to kind of grow and move into new areas, and yeah, lots of different things going on for us.
Yeah, it's a really exciting initiative and based in the Southwest. So we got involved because we had a placement at Centre when I was working at Centre, and then at Iris. I want to talk a little bit about the type of people you work with, and I'm coming at this as a single parent, and I've been a single parent for a long time. And like most people, when they become a single parent, I was left, you know, on the floor and penniless. But I recognised through the work that we've done together that I had two very strong advantages. First of all, I had the family around me, and very loving and supportive and helpful. And that's the greatest privilege, isn't it? Don't talk to me about trust fund. What you really need is somebody to make your kids a cottage pie on a Thursday night when you're at work. But also I had a profession, and I had, if you can call this a profession, I had a job, and I had a career, so I could have an income, and I could make choices about how I worked as well. And what I realised really is how fortunate I was. But this thing about, even though I was a single parent and felt that I was on my knees, it's not a level playing field. So can you talk a little bit about the type of women that you're involved with, and some of the challenges that they have to face as well?
Yes. So really, really early on, when Rachel and I were in that research stage, actually, something we always talk about, the barriers that our mums face. And for me, my background, I worked in comms, and so the language that we use to describe our mums and some of the challenges they face are really, really, really important to me, actually. And I always remember when we first started doing this, there was a big thing around people talking about children from disadvantaged backgrounds, and actually I feel really uneasy about that, because first of all, that for me, disadvantage always has a connotation that a mum is somehow not doing her best job. And often, and we all know that the mums that we're working with are actually really good mums, and actually it's the circumstances that they find themselves in and the barriers that they're facing that we often talk about. So I just wanted to get that one off my chest. But something that came up really early on and has continued to be a really big theme, barrier for a lot of our mums, is around domestic abuse. And you'll notice that I refer to domestic abuse rather than domestic violence. And I think that's a really important distinction, because I thankfully have not been in an abusive relationship. But what I have learned over the last 6 years is that domestic abuse comes in many forms, and domestic violence, perhaps, with someone with a black eye, whatever, is the thing that most people would think of. But actually, a partner that has been coercively controlling somebody, or who has been financially controlling somebody, is equally as devastating, I would say. Because often what we find with many of the mums we work with, they have been extraordinarily brave in leaving an abusive relationship. But what they find themselves then in is financially, they're ruined. They may have had a partner who has run up, thousands of pounds worth of debt that has absolutely annihilated their credit rating. And so for them to then think about trying to apply for a job where you might need to have your credit checked, if you're working in a financial services company, for example, that then becomes a really big barrier to someone being able to move on with their life. The way that the benefit structure has been put together means that often people in a relationship, one partner has all of the benefits going into their account. So again, if you're in an emotionally controlling partner relationship and you get out, you might not even be able to access your state benefits for a period of time. And so in terms of rebuilding your life, it can take a really, really long time to not only get out of an unhealthy relationship, but then make the necessary steps to start rebuilding your confidence, but also the really practical things that go with that. And I think, Elizabeth, to your point on a support network, that's another really big thing for many of our mums. So often a lot of the mums we work with don't have a support network. They maybe have moved to the area because if they've been escaping domestic violence, but it might be that they have come to the UK to try and find a safe country to live in. And so they may also then have the additional challenge of English being a second language, and they're trying to, settle children into schools. It may be that somebody has got a child with special educational needs, and that's I can speak from experience there with my own children, and the challenges that can pose for a parent as well. If you have a child that isn't necessarily always in school, or is even if they are in school, they're really high needs, and so you aren't able to access holiday clubs like other people can, or just childcare generally. Mm-hmm. So that can be another big barrier for lots of our mums. Things like mental health challenges are becoming more and more of a challenge for lots of our mums, and general disabilities, I would say. I think that anyone that looks at the out of work statistics, the number of people who are not working due to poor health is increasing. And I think that we all need to recognise that this is not going away. And we look at things like long COVID, for example, and the absolutely devastating impact that that has on people. But as an organisation, we always look for the positive. So we will often have mums that will come to us with, it's very rare that a mum comes with just one of those barriers that I've just spoken about. We talk a lot about intersectionality, and that's the multiple layers of disadvantage that people can face. But what we always try and focus on is the fact that we have waiting lists. We have the demand for our programs is so high. And that to me is a real positive. There are a lot of mums who want to work, who want to be financially stable, financially independent, and don't want to be on state benefits ultimately. And that is the positive that we've got to focus on. And we've got to look as people in society, but also as employers, and look at what reasonable adjustments you can make to support someone in becoming financially stable and independent, basically.
So what I feel like is that they're at the bottom of the mountain, and there's all these barriers in their way, not just a mountain of going into work, there's all these barriers in their way. How do you help support a mindset shift in terms of not just thinking there's too many things in my way, I can't do it because of this and this? What is the work specifically that you do with them? I'm really interested in how you help change that, what's going on in their head.
So I think the first thing that when Rachel and I were setting it up, we had come from corporate backgrounds, and when we were in our old jobs, we were able to access amazing learning development programs that made us feel valued, important and special. And so when we were setting up the Women's Work Lab, we were really clear that we wanted our mums to be able to access the best forms of training that are out there. Like, why not? Why should it only be the preserve of working, someone that works in a corporate? So the quality of the training program that we've developed has come from so Sally, who's our director of learning, she had held very, very senior HR roles before joining the Women's Work Lab, and she has built a program of training that pulls in things around your Myers-Briggs personality type. We have Sal's been trained by Google, for example, to deliver their I Am Remarkable training. So we have really curated, I would say, top quality training that in itself helps the mums feel special, helps them feel valued, helps them feel as though they are worthy. And that isn't meant to sound really trite, but it's actually often their experience of employability stuff is through the job centre. And there are some brilliant job coaches, but there's also some really crap ones, frankly. And we have a benefits and in-work system that is set up in a way that makes people it's almost like the assumption that everyone's trying to fiddle the system, essentially. And so people aren't treated particularly well, and they're certainly not treated with respect, and they're not treated in a way that would allow them to dream and allow them to aspire to be more. So from the off, we've always wanted that as soon as they step into the Women's Work Lab, they feel special, they feel valued, and they are able to have the space to dream and to really truly have some ambition and actually really look at themselves. And the courses, that the sessions that we run with them are very much designed to help them understand themselves. And something we hear really frequently from our mums is, this is the first time I've ever taken time to be me and not just mum. And we hear that over and over again. So giving them the space to explore themselves, it can get quite emotional, as you can imagine.
It makes me feel emotional now.
But giving them the time and space to really truly invest in themselves, I would say, but also just helping them feel special. And that's, everything down from the notebooks we give them to, when they graduate, they get a really nice certificate and a mug, and it's all it's in the venues that we deliver our training in, we've always tried to make it feel aspirational and special, and that they matter, because, as I say, up until the point of them joining us, they very few of them have felt that they are visible or important, and that's awful, frankly. So even if it's just for the 12 weeks they're with us, we elevate them and we make them feel like the most special people that we possibly can.
I really understand that, and I think I'm just going to bring it back to our bookkeepers who are watching today. When we have a lot of our bookkeepers set up businesses on their own, they go through some training and they get their practice license. And what's really wonderful working at ICB and working with ICB, as I have the last couple of years, is seeing the development of people who start off just doing a few bits of, I just do a bit of bookkeeping here, I just look after the family business here, I just do this for my mates, I just do this for the football team, treasurer. And to see people really change and develop and grow their businesses and grow their confidence is really amazing. And I think that's what ICB does an awful lot. What a career in bookkeeping can do is about empowering people and making people understand their true value. So it's not, what we're doing at ICB is not on the same scale at all of what you're doing. But why I wanted to bring you into our day to day is because that's part of our philosophy as well. That people have got so much more. Women have got so much more to give. People have got so much more to give. If you just give them equity. It's not just about equality, it's about equity, isn't it? That everyone has to have that opportunity. So talking of opportunity, one of the things I found really interesting when I first started working with you was this idea around, it really sounds a very simple thing, but your placements are in school hours, which when you say it, well, it's obvious they're going to do it in school hours, so people can work and they can work around the children, because that surely is the biggest barrier of all, if you've got to pay for childcare or anything like that. 100%. So can we talk a little bit about what we can do as business owners, as suppliers of services, as friends, as a society, just to think a little bit about how we can make our workplaces more inclusive for the people, the mums that you're working with, and people generally. People generally.
So we're always looking for amazing employer partners that we can work with to provide work placements for our mums. The work placements are volunteer work placements. And it's funny because it's something that initially when Rachel and I were setting it up, we just thought the mums would be paid. Of course they would, because why wouldn't you? And again, this is the biggest lesson of why you need people with lived experience in your team, because as soon as we started speaking to the mums, they said, no, we don't want to get paid for a 4-week work placement because that'll muck up my benefits. And, any change in your income then has a knock on to the amount that you'll get paid in your benefits. So make it a volunteer work placement. So no payments, but just make sure expenses are covered. So that is why, just to clarify, that is why it is structured in the way it is. But yeah, it's really, really important for us to normalize, I suppose, this idea of working school hours, and, as I say, making these reasonable adjustments, because what we talk about quite a lot, and I'm sure that people within your community will also attest to this, because I would imagine many work full-time and part-time, is when you work part-time and you have a window of, let's say, 5 hours in a day to get your work done, you tend to work all 5 of those hours. Yes, and there's very little dilly-dallying around the edges in terms of efficiency. And what we really, really are starting to see more of a shift towards, but things feel like it's taken a bit of a step back recently, is much more of an output focused world of work, rather than it always being this obsession of a clocking in and clocking out and how many hours you're there and how many hours you're not. Actually, let's all really truly normalize that. I'm sure that there's bookkeepers within your community that for some people it might take them 4 hours to do a piece of work. For someone else it might only take them 3 hours to do it, and the quality of the output will be the same. And that's just based on 2 different individual styles of learning and levels of experience and things like that. And so I think when we can just start being a bit better at not obsessing about how many hours someone's actually working and really truly focusing instead on what they're doing, I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah. And you're right in that we just did a survey, and 50% of our bookkeepers are working part-time, and the average is about 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
And we know it's a job that people choose because of flexibility, because they can work. I mean, some of our most successful bookkeepers are working 9 till 2 every day because it's their lifestyle. That's what they choose to do. But countless other bookkeepers will work 9 till 2, and then there's one of our members who I know does a shift 12 till 4, midnight till 4. That's that suits, so that does. So I think you're right that as a society, in terms of the workplaces, we just need to shift things around output.
Not feel embarrassed about it, because I think that's the thing, that people are made to feel as though if you don't work conventional hours, then somehow that's just a bit weird. We have a bit of a mantra that we talk to our mums about, which is about finding work that works for you and your family. And so that's our whole thing with the Women's Work Lab. And I love that with your profession, that's clearly, you've got a lot of people that have taken that very literally, which I love. But I think it's about talking about it and talking to other parents at school, and other members of your family, and just being, really owning it, I think, because the more, I certainly know that the more things are talked about and normalized, the more opportunity it creates for other people, essentially. You might not ever realize that at the time, but when someone who is, wanting to return to work can't possibly think of what am I going to do that enables me to work around my kids. They could be like you were, Elizabeth, a newly single parent, and just cannot think about what to do. And you guys have got this amazing route that enables, as I say, financial stability and financial security, but also the ability to work in a way that suits you and your family. And that's a really big thing. So yeah.
And I think you're right about and I remember going back to work part-time after I'd had my children, and thinking, I haven't got time for this. I haven't got time to chat to you. I've got to come in and get the work done. So acknowledging that. And I think you're right about not apologizing it. We have people within ICB who work excuse me, part-time, and we always say, you don't work on this day. You don't have to apologize for not being at a meeting. Excuse me. It's up to us to adjust our working practices. And I think when it comes to flexible working, it's not enough for one person to work flexibly. The organisation has to have the mindset in terms of, we have meetings about this on the Thursday because this person isn't here on a Friday, and that's just the way we do things. It's not part-timer doing less. We know those people are doing a lot more within those hours. So
yeah, I think it's being boundaried. Our Women's Work Lab team has grown quite a lot over the last year and a half, and Rach and I job share the CEO role, and we both work 25 hours a week, and we've got a wonderful woman called Louise in our team who has actually been through our programme. So a third of our team have actually completed our programme and now work with us. And Louise really truly is my absolute icon in terms of how boundaried she is about her work, and she's a real role model with it, in that she will very loudly i.e. on the team WhatsApp group say, I'm off now, I'll see you guys next week, these are my hours next week, see you then. And you don't hear a peep out of her, and it's joyous, and that's how it should be, frankly. And Rach and I are looking to Louise, and both of us saying we need to be more Louise on this, because it's really I think that when you work part-time, and I think it's different, to be giving Rach and I cutting ourselves some slack, I think it's different when you're running something like we're running at the moment, but actually it's also really important that we role model to our team about the fact that we do all work part-time, and we must respect people's boundaries, and we must respect our own boundaries, in fact.
Yeah, you have to be agile, don't you? That's the thing. You have to respond to things when they're done, but those boundaries are really important. And I've noticed, as a 45-year-old, I've noticed that younger people I work with are better at boundaries. then and again it's that mindset shift. But hopefully, as you know, as different people move up the ladder, you'll have more of that sort of cultural thing around hours that people work. I'm conscious of time. We've got about 5 minutes left. I wanted to talk to you about some of your success stories, because is it 300 women now you've got back into employment? Amazing. So can you tell us some stories, Camilla? Can you think of some people that you've helped and different things, sort of put you on the spot to think about?
It's really tricky. I can speak. I'm just trying to think about who I'd love to reference is someone in my team who will remain nameless, who completed our program. And as I say, a third of our team have actually been through our program. And we just recruited one more, and I saw her yesterday and it was great. I'm so happy. But one of the ladies that I want to reference started with us 2021, I think it was, on our program. She was a single parent, and her family heritage was very, very, very conservative. Arranged marriage, which she had escaped from, and she was raising 2 children on her own with no support at all, because she hadn't been allowed to, because she'd made a decision to step away from an arranged marriage. So culturally, it's always been a really big eye-opener, I would say, just in terms of really truly understanding things. And she's been with us now for 2.5 years, and she's kind of gone from strength to strength and been promoted and done all these amazing things. And recently she had reconciled the relationship with her family, which was great. But recently it's broken down again, and it's all been based around, again, very cultural reasons, I would say. I'm having to tread really carefully. But she stood firm, and actually I don't think I could feel any more proud of her because of the way in which she has stood up to them. And she has said to us that if it was not for the confidence that she has gained from being part of the Women's Work Lab, she wouldn't have been able to do that. And she has been able to really truly identify what her values are, identify how she wants to raise her children and the role model that she wants to be to her children. But importantly, she's now got the confidence to follow through on those things. Whereas I don't think necessarily when she joined us initially, she did. And I think over time, we've been able to help her really see her strength, but also really, truly live her life by her values and live her life in a way that enables her to role model to her children how she wants their future to be. And it's been so powerful because at numerous points over the last 2.5 years, we've been really proud of her, obviously. But actually more recently, when she's faced real challenges, like really, really horrible stuff. And clearly as employers, but also as friends, more than anything, we've supported her. But to see the strength that she's shown really has brought home the lasting kind of impact of the work that we're doing. Is that we often talk about the headlines of, you know, numbers into work, and there are some amazing stories in that respect of people that have gone on to get jobs working at the hospital at Southmead and doing things that they only ever dreamed of. And there's some joyous things. But actually, for me, with this particular person, as I say, the strength of character that she is showing and has shown, due to the really deep set confidence that she now has in herself, is really humbling, and like just makes me love even more what we do. And those are the bits for me that I kind of makes me love my job even more.
Because it's not a practical, I mean, it's very well spending time with somebody to go through their CV, but to change somebody's mindset completely, that's a really powerful thing to do, isn't it?
Yes.
So if the people who are watching today are interested in what you do, what kind of things can we do to support you? Is there is there something we can do?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that for those who are in a position to perhaps host a mum in a work placement, that's always amazing. But I appreciate lots of your members work for themselves, and so that might not be a practical thing. I would say that our talent team support our mums once they graduate from the core programme. And usually only, but still quite a good number, about a third of our mums will get a job straight away. And for many of our mums, just because life continues to throw curveballs at them, frankly, it just takes them a bit longer. And so our talent team are there to kind of to support them and to hold their hands and to help them with job applications. But I really feel that bookkeeping for a lot of our mums could be a really, really viable career option, actually. Mm-hmm. And so being able to potentially run some information sessions with some of our mums, some workshops, just to talk through the practicalities of what it all means and what it looks like, could be amazing, actually. So yeah, those who are in a position to provide some more kind of on the ground support, we run programs in Bristol, Bath, South Gloucestershire, North Somerset, and in Somerset as well. So face-to-face is always amazing, really, just because of, you know, having that human connection. I don't think you can ever replace it. But we are looking to develop some more online resources as well. So yeah, if anyone's in a position to help with that sort of thing, then please do drop me an email, and I'm hoping you can share my email.
Yeah, we'll put it all on the program today, and we'll send it out as well. Great, fantastic. Camilla, I think the work you do is amazing at Women's Work Lab. I'm glad that you're being recognised as well. I know you've been to see Rishi this week, haven't you, at number 10?
Yeah, we went to number 10, which is fairly surreal, I'm not going to lie.
And I know that the organisation's getting accolades, and I think it's well deserved. So thank you for that, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much, Elizabeth. Take care. Bye.